Sean Levine will step into the cage with Brendan Tobin in Are You Gonna Fight Me?
I'm gonna fight your ass!
Here on Tapped Out.
That's right, fight me like a man!
Only on the BetQL network.
You know the rules. I want a good, clean fight. When I tell you to break, I want you to step back up my command and break. Now go back to the corner and come out fighting at the bell.
Welcome back into the show. Brendan Tobin, Sports Machine Sean Levine, friends turn foes in a segment called You Gonna Fight Me? I don't know how, but somehow Demetrius Johnson just got his black belt, like literally yesterday. DJ just got his black belt. To me, no doubt, he's got to be the best flyweight of all time. You gonna fight me?
Nah, I've told you this. It's cool that the flyweight got a little bit of a resurgence with Davison Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno, and those guys did. I'm not knocking anything that they've done, but man, I would have loved to see Demetrius Johnson get another run in the UFC. Thankfully it seems like he's got everything put together well at one and has a nice, media career going for himself, but no, bar none, he's the best. It's impossible for you not to think of anybody else.
Triple C? I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe Henry Cejudo?
Nah, no.
All right, well, at least you entertained it. Sean Strickland and Paulo Costa are going at it coming up at UFC 302. I was thinking, all right, I got to lay down some heavy money on this one. I think the most likely outcome is Sean Strickland wins by decision. You going to fight me?
No, I'm not going to fight you just because I just, I think it's been a while since we've seen Paulo Costa, be a guy who we all thought could be a real contender. Hasn't gotten a win since beating Luke Rockhold, I believe. Where
he's super overrated. Let's just call it what it is. Like, he looks the part. He's fought for the belt before, but what has he really done? I know you're looking at his history right now. On top of my head, got his ass kicked against Israel Adesanya, had the super highlight that grossed you out against Luke Rockhold,
really
got
gross.
Beat up a couple of times in between, missed a couple of fights. What has this guy done?
Yeah, I would say probably the highest highlight of his career is probably beating Uriah Hall.
He's Johnny Walker, dude.
Yeah, I would say even Johnny.
Cool.
He does look cool. But I think with Sean, yeah, Sean's been there. We've already just saw him. Look, Sean's got an argument to say, hey, I got a little bit hosed out of my belts. So I think that Sean, we've just seen have more success lately. Now we've seen him go in there and have success against the top guys for the belt. He looked the way he did against Israel Adesanya. Paulo Costa didn't look competitive against Israel Adesanya, not to just, put MMA math out there, but that's just the truth. And, Sean, I think is definitely right there on the cusp of getting right back in there. So yeah, I think Sean by decision is the best way to go. He definitely usually wins by decision. So that's probably a smart path to go.
You say on the cusp of fighting for another championship. We got Izzy going at it with Dricus Du Plessis. So I assume if Sean Strickland wins this fight, then he just waits and he takes on the winner of that one for the belt, right?
I would think so. He's the number one guy right now.
And like you said, when he lost the belt, it's not like he got his ass whooped. It was a close fight.
No, and then, we have the only thing that I guess we could look at and say is Whitaker. If, even though Whitaker's lost to both guys, he's fighting Hamzat. So most likely if Hamzat wins, they might want to vault him in there because they're dying to, I think, get a belt around Hamzat's waist. But yeah, that's if he's going to be fighting for the belt, does that mean that Robert Whitaker's just ruled out because he has losses against these guys? It's hard to say, but I think for right now, yeah, Sean's right there. If it's not going to be the winner of that fight, then he's next.
You mentioned the Hamzat Chimaev versus Robert Whitaker fight. Somehow that's not a pay-per-view. That's a fight night coming up on June 22nd, which is nuts. Think about what we have coming up tonight for a pay-per-view. And I don't want to disrespect, but at the top of the marquee is Pantoja versus Usyk. Who? What? Really?
Yeah.
You're telling me that on a fight night, we're going to get Hamzat Chimaev versus Robert Whitaker? You're going to fight me if I say, I think the most likely outcome of that one, and you know how much I love me some Robert Whitaker, I bet he gets ragdolled around that octagon, man.
I don't know, man. I'm a bit of a Hamzat hater. I'll admit it.
Yeah, you are.
I'm a little bit of a Hamzat hater. Doesn't make weight. Wasn't really that impressed with his quote unquote signature wins against Usman because Usman took that on 2 seconds notice and first
Actually, I'm
fight
with
ever
you
at
there. I
middleweight.
was more impressed with Usman in a loss than I was with Chimaev winning that fight.
Yeah, I mean,
And now that you bring it up, he didn't
think about his last.
your boy Gilbert Burns either.
Well, let's think about his last 3 fights. All right, let's be honest about this. All right, so Usman, he got on 3 seconds notice, right?
Right? Yeah.
Usman's debut at middleweight. The fight before that's Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland beat him up, but okay, that was bull bleep. I mean, he got a perfect signature, perfect stylistic matchup at catch weight. I understand, but like he didn't even make weight. I'm not gonna give him credit. He didn't even make weight for that fight. He weighed 100. What did he weigh? 183 pounds for a welterweight fight.
So he missed it by 7 or 8 pounds between friends.
And then the Gilbert Burns fight. I mean, like Gilbert Burns had, some would argue Gilbert had better moments in that fight than he has. So, dude, what are we going back to Fight Island before this guy was some boogeyman? I'm talking 3 years ago. Yeah, I'm a bit of a Hamzat hater. I'm sorry. Maybe he'll be good. Maybe he will be the champion one day. But Robert Whittaker, Bobby Knuckles, I'm sorry, man. I'm not ruling him out of a win at all.
Wow, all 3 judges are saying you 10-8 me in that round. All right, fine. You're right. Finally, it's about time. We've been doing this show for 3 years, damn it. If I'm right, so let's just humor it for a second. Do you think there's a chance that Robert Whittaker would lay down the gloves? That guy's been fighting for a long time.
If he loses?
Actually, just no matter what, because it feels like to me he's getting toward the end. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I just feel like every time we do this with him, I think we've seen some comebacks. He's only 33 years old. So he'll be 34, not till December. Okay, so
he's not old.
Still in the midst of it. Dude, he's lost to Israel Adesanya in the current champ.
Oh,
so he's lost
that. It's not his resume, it's the mileage, right? Because he's been in the game. Look at all the fights he has. Like, if you've got his resume pulled up, this guy's, and he used to fight 3, if not 4 times a year. He's not quite as active over the last couple of years. But when he was Robert Whittaker, the champion, right? When he had those matchups, that you think about, like the Joe Romero, and that's a long time ago now.
Yeah, the Ultimate Fighter, that was 2012 that he was there.
It's a long time.
But look what we're seeing lately with guys who have been around a while. Like, look at Dustin and look at Max Holloway. These guys have been around a while. Hell, Jose Aldo's still kicking it. I would be surprised. I would be surprised unless he gets just absolutely obliterated in the fight. That would be a talking point for him. Because he's still good enough. He's just a little bit in the Max Holloway paradox of, like, you need somebody who you haven't lost to have the championship just to get back in the talks for the championship. That's what the issue is right now. It's not that he's not a contender. It's just that, like, okay, you've lost to Izzy and you've lost to DDP.
I like the Max comparison. I love the Poirier comparison. Like, I think Poirier and Robert Whittaker have had extremely similar careers. If you look at their resumes and how long they've been in the game and where they are at this point in their careers and when they've had the belt and who they've had to face, like, both those guys, if you're trying to rank them all time, it'd kind of be tough. I'd put Poirier slightly ahead when it comes to resume, but again, both these guys still could be champions as we're talking about going forward. Speaking of could be champion, Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler go at it coming up on June 29th. You're going to fight me if I say, I'm starting to think if McGregor wins, he's going to fight for the championship next. Because Dana White would love nothing more than that. You going to fight me?
No, I'm not going to fight you on that. I think, what do you think is more likely? Do you think there's anything to these, like, 165 belt rumors, or do you think that it's all just internet fodder? So, like, I've had to tell you what was more likely.
I don't want there to be a belt on the line. Basically, what you're saying is if they make a 165 for the Chandler McGregor fight specifically, there'd be a belt on the line. Hell no. I don't want him to become champion that way and then grab the belt and say, surprise, surprise. No, dude. Like, I need at least 2 fights for you to be champion again, Connor.
I agree. I think that I was just curious if you had any interest in that at all. Because, I can see them. You could definitely see them weaseling in something there. That is a boxing move. That's like when the WBC shows up every week and they're like, hey, we have a Cinco de Mayo belt just so they can be seen. If you're
gonna do something goofy like that, then go all out and make it a tournament. Give me 4 guys. You know what I mean? Like, give me 4. Throw a Poirier in there. I don't care, whoever wants to be in that one. Nate Diaz, welcome him back. and have all four of those guys go at it, 2 fights each, and the winners go at it for the belt. But nah, that makes me a little sick to my stomach to think that there'd actually be a belt on the line for that.
Your boy Charlie Olives revealed this week that he's the backup for that. You inch more in that fight than you would be the actual fight? Like, if you had your wherewithal, would you rather see Conor fight Oliveira, or do you prefer where it's at right now? Yeah.
I prefer where it's at right now. I mean, McGregor and Michael.
Is it because it's more competitive? Because you feel like Charles Oliveira would kill him?
It's not even that. It's more, I'm waiting for both these guys to meet with everything they have in the first round, the same way that Michael Chandler has his entire career, the same way that Conor McGregor has his entire career. Like, if this thing gets to the third, I'm going to be absolutely stunned. Conor said before, it will be done in one, and I tend to agree with him. I'm not saying he's going to win the fight, but somebody's going to have the other guy done in one. Like, we're talking about two of the most aggressive fighters on the entire roster. And let's face it, McGregor doesn't want this thing to get into deep water. He's terrible when the third round and on. McGregor's not even an average fighter at that point. He's great in the first couple of rounds. Ask Jose Aldo.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I wonder with Conor, though, is you do have to wonder a little bit, is there going to be an element to him that's just going to want to now maybe Michael Chandler won't let him, but when you have an injury like that, is there going to be part of him that's going to want to kind of feel things out?
Maybe Michael Chandler won't let him. That's like being like, well, maybe the cheetah will let the rabbit like feel him out a little bit. Of course he's going to go right after him. He's Michael Chandler. What are you talking about?
I'm just wondering. I'm wondering with Conor if it's like, is he going to find a way to try and keep the distance and give himself some space and some reach on this so he can just test out the leg. And I understand like he's training. It's not like this is the first time he's ever going to do it, but I think it is different under the stress of the bright lights.
Joe Rogan said that the BMF knockout was the greatest of all time. Now, he kind of said that in the moment. He's been asked afterwards, and he's stuck with it. You're going to fight me if I say that's crazy in hindsight. Like, I can think of better knockouts. You got to think of Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo. I would put Ronda Rousey getting knocked out by Holly Holm. I would put the Leon Edwards putting Usman to sleep. I mean, even back in the day, you think about a knockout like when Hendo knocked out Bisping. I mean, we're talking about greatest knockouts of all time. The timing was awesome with 1 second left. It was the BMF fight, which everybody was looking forward to. It was the biggest card at UFC 300. So the stage was huge. But to call it the biggest knockout, the best knockout of all time, that's kind of silly.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say it's silly. I think that I agree that he's maybe caught up in the moment of it because of the guy who did it, the guy that he did it to, the stage that it was at. Like, hard to argue that a fight that was that anticipated on a card like that would have an ending that even exceeded everybody else's expectations. But yeah, probably would say for Max Holloway, for a lot of his career, before that, you would say the signature moment was winning the championship, but even before that's probably him screaming with Calvin Kattar that he's the best boxer. And then, he did this against Ricardo Lamas, just didn't end the way that did. So this is definitely the crowning achievement of Max Holloway's career. Best knockout ever. It's so strange to me because I think of like sometimes devastating knockouts and you're just like, man, like I think like Francis versus Overeem, right?
Oh, dude, he broke him.
Like that was crazy what he was able to do to him. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm.
How about Vicky Boy versus Overeem?
Yeah. Busted his face. Yeah. But I think if you want to talk stakes, the style that it happened in, which was just a melee throwdown, it's up there, man. It definitely, it's definitely up there. I don't think anything is like nothing's going to top that this year. And we got a lot of year to go. I can't imagine anything is going to top that.
What if somebody asked you, stop you on the street, and they're like, "Aren't you Brendan Tobin? Don't you host that UFC show? Dude, what's your favorite knockout of all time?" And you'd have a bunch of time. You're with your kids, whatever, trying to go to the park, be a good dad. What's your answer?
Man, there's some crazy ones. The most stunning ones both involve Usman because him knocking out Masvidal getting knocked out for the first time was pretty stunning. And then him losing to Leon Edwards. Those are the ones that like always come to mind. Those are the ones that have come to mind because I just we would just be talking about them like crazy. We were doing the show too, so like that adds to it, I guess. But
I can't believe you brought up your boy George Masvidal and didn't say when he need Ben Askren in the face.
That's a crazy knockout too, for sure. But that is, that one's like.
And how much you always talk about McGregor knocking out Aldo.
That's good too. See, there's a lot of good knockouts. There's a lot of good knockouts. There are. Hey, listen, it's a great sport. There's a lot of good knockouts, dude.
It really is. It's a great sport.
It's a great sport.
Coming up next, we keep talking about the sport we love, and we try to make a little bit of money together right here on the BetQL network.